Today I come to you live from underneath my piano. Avatar: The Last Airbender is a very popular show that ran on Nickelodeon in 2005. And most of my generation loves talking about it, loves watching it, loves making video essays about it. Way too many video essays. I'm adding another one to the pile, and there's already one on my channel, and it's not gonna be the last. It's a show that really proved itself in its time, with themes that have lasted even to this day. One of these themes is balance. That balance is executed just as much behind the screens as in front of the screen. TV is one of those curious monstrosities that needs every cog in the machine to communicate with each other. There are a lot of TV shows that will just put stuff on screen. We eat it up, we love it, but the true shows that last the stand of time have elements that support each other. Like, for example, music supporting the narrative, which is what we're talking about today. Some important names to note are Michael DiMartino and Brian Koninsko? I've been saying his name wrong. Koninsko. They roomed with the track team. The track team is made up of Jeremy Zuckerman and Benjamin. Avatar was kind of the first project they worked on. They worked on some movies and some commercials, but I think the reason it works so well is because Brian Koninsko has a music background, and when he's the art director on the show, as well as a co-creator and a producer, real all-star there. He had a musical background to communicate with the track team as they were making music. So for a show like Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is this traveling journey, Lord of the Rings-esque, how do you make the music sound good? Easy answer is leitmotifs. But what do you create leitmotifs for? Because it's a traveling show, so you can't really create it around places. You can base it around characters, but there's a lot of different characters. The answer is to score the conflict and the narrative elements like character arcs, rather than specific characters or locations. Sideways has a pretty good video. He kind of makes the same point. He doesn't go into the specific pieces of score and leitmotifs. So before I get into what the show of Avatar is about, because I'm making this for you, Dave, my music teacher, and no one else. And this video is my desperate plea to Dave to get him to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. Even though I am going to be spoiling pretty much, not everything, but pretty much everything in Avatar, when a show is good, when a piece of media is good, if you know the twists and the spoilers in every single step of the show, you should still be able to enjoy all of the twists and turns, because if a twist is good, it's been planted since the very beginning. The journey in watching something is not to be surprised, it's to watch the events unfold. That's why we rewatch movies even though we know what's happened. The elements of the story are still interesting. The themes and characters and humor and drama of a story that keep you interested. So, what is Avatar about? Avatar is about 4 nations. The elements of earth, water, air, and fire. And the earth kingdoms, the air nomads, the water tribes, and the fire nation. People in these nations can bend their respective element. And there is only one person in the entire world who can bend all 4 elements. They are the Avatar. The Avatar is reborn into each nation after the Avatar dies. They can go into this mystical Avatar state where they can control all 4 elements at the exact same time, and it reconnects them with their past lives. And one day, the Avatar goes missing, and there's a giant comet that will enable the firebenders to have this very great firebending power. So the Fire Nation decides, hey, you wanna know what would be great? If we took over the world while the Avatar is missing. The Avatar used to be a firebender, so that means they're gonna be reborn into the air nomads. So let's commit genocide on the air nomads. So they kill all the air nomads, and then they go on to conquest the rest of the world. And it's still going on by the time we're introduced some of our main characters, Sokka and Katara of the Southern Water Tribe. Katara is the last waterbender in the Southern Tribe, and while she and her brother are hunting, they find this weird iceberg, and they're like, whoa, it's a weird iceberg, let's go investigate it. They crack it open, and there's this quirky little young boy inside. And it turns out this is the Avatar that's been missing the entire time. He's been just chilling in an iceberg under the water for the last 100 years. We don't really get introduced to a lot of the backgrounds of the characters until we're well into season 1. Aang was told at the ripe age of 12 that he is the Avatar, and he's like, what? And they're like, we usually would wait until you're 16, but we think that the Fire Nation is gonna start a war, and we want to prevent that, so we're telling you now. And he's like, sweet, that's way too much information and responsibility to put on a 12-year-old, so I'm gonna go run away before you take me away from everything that I love. And that's exactly what he does, and that's how he got caught up in a storm and activated the Avatar state and went into hibernation mode for 100 years. Aang is just a quirky little kid caught between feeling the grief and longing for a family after literal genocide was committed upon his people, and the responsibilities of needing to save the world. In order to save the world from the Fire Nation, Aang has to defeat the Fire Lord, master all 4 elements in order to defeat the Fire Lord, and he has to do this before the same comet that came 100 years ago that gave the Fire Nation the ability to commit genocide so that they don't commit commit genocide again. This is where we start talking about themes. You might think, okay, so Aang needs to have a theme, and it's gonna be really cool and powerful, and maybe there'll be like a B section that's gonna have like a cool... No, why would you do that? Why? When instead you can have Aang have 2 themes. The things that have themes are the Avatar's love, Aang's love for his family and community and the people around him, and his joyful carefreeness. That has a theme, and it's called the Avatar's love, and it usually plays at the end of like every episode in season 1.
How did you do that? With the water! It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
I don't know. I just sort of did it.
Why didn't you tell us you were the Avatar?
Because I never wanted to be.
Because at the end of every episode in season 1, they've gone on some little adventure and everything's all neatly wrapped up in some way, and we experience that feeling of Aang being with the people that he loves, his friends. The other theme that Aang has is for his Avatar state. Whenever Aang goes into the Avatar state, we hear this.
Muzzled apple?
I'm sorry! I didn't know it belonged to the Avatar!
Tell me where Armin is!
You get this contrast between Aang, this true dichotomy of his inner conflicts, of Aang's desire for this beautiful, romantic, Kalamba, musical style life, and his need to save the entire world. But also the Avatar state is terrifying. He's a 12-year-old child being possessed by the literal spirits of thousands of his past lives. And it only happens when he's in some enraged state, like when he's grieving over the loss of his people. By creating 2 themes, we get to celebrate and explore the inner conflicts of Aang, rather than just whenever's Aang's on screen, let's play some of Aang's music. We get to make specific choices, you know? Zuko is a great character. How do I explain Zuko? Zuko is the exiled prince of the Fire Nation. When he was a child, his beloved mother, the only person who really cared about him, disappeared. She just freaking went Avatar on him. And it's kind of implied something really shady went down in the royal family. Zuko attends a war meeting. He speaks out against this plan that would sacrifice a lot of troops' lives for basically no reason, but he's not really supposed to be in there. So his father's like, that was extremely disrespectful and dishonorable. You need to be challenged to an Agni Kai. But he's like, oh sweet, I can take this old general guy in a fight. No, he can't, because it turns out the guy that he's actually fighting is his father. He begs for his father's forgiveness. His father is like, no, I'm gonna burn off half of your face and send you to go do this impossible thing of finding the Avatar who's been missing for 100 years. So Zuko goes through this whole journey throughout the entire season of Avatar, and in season 1, every time we hear Zuko,
Finally. Uncle, do you realize what this means?
we think this is Zuko's theme. It's not Zuko's theme, it's the Fire Nation's theme. Throughout season 1, as Zuko stops getting associated with the Fire Nation because he's not doing things aligned with the Fire Nation, that theme doesn't show up. So whenever Zuko is aligned with the Fire Nation, he's doing Fire Nation things, we hear Fire Nation theme music. When he's starting to see the cracks in his ideology and grow as a person and not be evil, he moves into other themes. I know what you're thinking. You're looking at me and you're going, Julie, you haven't talked about Sokka's theme yet. Talk about Sokka's theme, because Sokka has a theme. Therefore, Sokka is the character who has a theme. Therefore, they haven't just scored the conflicts. You're wrong. You're so wrong, I can't believe it. Sokka is a fun, goofy little character too. Everyone's a fun little goofy character in this TV show, but Sokka's a smart, fun little goofy character. He has all these out-of-the-box ideas. Sokka's ideas have themes. Whenever Sokka gets an idea, Sokka's theme plays. At the end of the day, season 1 of Avatar is a little bit episodic. The later seasons are less episodic, have like these ongoing arcs of like corruption in the Earth Kingdom. So we know we can expect several things in each episode. Aang's gonna be a kid, Sokka's gonna have an idea, Zuko's gonna have issues, and Aang is gonna do an Avatar thing. So by scoring those things, those like conflicts, we can attach it more carefully to the narrative. Every episode might not deal with every character, but every episode is going to deal with conflict and character arcs, and by scoring those things, we've made a more effective score, a score more carefully tied to the narrative. Now with Zuko kind of like on the run from the Fire Nation, they need someone chasing the Avatar. And that someone is Zuko's youngest sister, Azula. Azula is a 14-year-old girl, and she's been kind of like the perfectionist. She's been like the good child in the family, but she totally takes after her father. She's a perfectionist to a scary degree. We hear the Fire Nation theme. And then as we get more of her, we hear the extension of that Fire Nation theme.
Princess, I'm afraid the tides will not allow us to bring the ship into port before nightfall.
Do the tides command this ship?
No, Princess.
And if I were to have you thrown overboard, would the tides think twice about smashing you against the rocky shore?
No, Princess.
Well then, maybe you should worry less about the tides, who've already made up their mind about killing you, and worry more about me, who's still mulling it over.
I'll pull us in.
It's quick, calculating, steady. Long story short, I'm gonna skip a lot of this stuff. We get to season 3. I will not tell you anything that happens in season 3, except for the stuff that happens at the very end of season 3. The last 2 themes that I want to talk about are themes that happen in the series finale. And the first one is the evolution, or like perception of Azula. Azula goes from being this cold, calculating creature who's obsessed with perfection and control and controlling people out of fear. After her girl boss posse betrays her, she loses her mind. She's in control of the Fire Nation palace, and she basically fires everyone because she thinks that they're all trying to overthrow her. But she's also like 14 and completely alone in the world. And I'm just gonna let the whole scene play because it's completely bonkers, and it terrified me as a child.
May and Ty Lee.
What choice do I have?
Even you fear me.
No, I love you, Azula. I do.
It's one of those moments where, for once, we don't get Azula being cold and calculating. All we hear is that drive down those strings that just shows her descent into madness, but it doesn't show it visually or narratively, it shows it musically, and it's beautiful. Another really cool thing to mention about the series finale, it has, to somewhat of a degree, a live orchestra. The thing that's really cool about the instrument choice in the last Agni Kai fight is that we have Aang fighting the Fire Lord. And that fight is super epic, and it needs its like grand epic fear-mongering music. But then we get the last Agni Kai, and it's between Zuko, who has redeemed himself and found his own honor, and Azula, who is off the rails. She is losing it, she is hallucinating, she cut her own bangs, and it does not look good. Instead of getting more like cool, awesome, epic fight music, which would be kind of confusing, we want some juxtaposition between the Fire Lord and Aang's fight. This music is so somber and depressing, and it's beautiful. The firebending looks gorgeous, but it really just highlights the fact that this isn't cool. Like, this is depressing. This is 2 siblings who've been pitted against each other their entire lives. They're kind of being forced to fight for the crown. Zuko's just trying to help his sister. She challenges him to this Agni Kai, which is supposed to be a fight to basically the death. He's like, I don't want to kill you, but I can't leave you unchecked. And it's just depressing, and it ends depressing, and I almost don't want to spoil any of it for you, so I'm trying to show you as little as possible. Anyway, I really hope this has made you want to watch the series to some degree, because it's an amazing show. But it's also like, this was a kid's show in 2005 on Nickelodeon that was not supposed to be anything. And this team, Mike and Brian Break, and then the track team, put so much love and effort into this show, and it withstands the test of time. Its animation is flawless, its writing is flawless, and the music, you hear the track team talk about it, and they're like, I can't even go back and listen to Avatar.
You do 61 episodes, you're gonna grow, you're gonna learn, you're gonna pick some stuff up.
That early Avatar, I can't listen to most of the Avatar stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to look at.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But
you guys, it's really good.
The use of instrumentation, intelligence behind leitmotifs, it was a fantastic show. And it was a fantastic show because the track team was amazing, but it was a fantastic show because Bright knew music and could communicate musical ideas. That's my Avatar rant. This show is so important to me. It really It's so lovely to see a show put so much kind care and compassion into the fact that they could have gotten away with doing something less. They could have gotten away with like really horrible like MIDI synthesizers and just called it a day. Because it's a kid's show on Nick in 2005, but they didn't. They created art and they created a beautiful story that withstands the test of time because of its themes and its characters and the fact that everything is working in tandem. And I just think that's cool. Anyway, this is something I would want to make. This is something that helped me get through like the death of my father, and I want to do the same for other people, because when you put that much compassion into a piece of art, like, people obviously are going to resonate with it. And it's why I think being aware of how music works as a writer is a necessity. Anyway, my arm is actually killing me, and I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible. Thank you so much for watching. Please give a shout out to Dave, my music teacher, who's taught me so much in these past few years. With you, it's been a joy. This is making me want to watch Avatar, dang.